Going on, everyone? John Matrix here. Hope you're all having yourselves a wonderful day. We're going to be jumping back into the SCP universe once again here with the Vulcan. We're going to be checking out SCP-001, the Scarlet King K-Class Scenario SCP Tufto's Proposal. This has been a requested video by one of my YouTube members, but pretty sure several other community members have requested this as well. So we're going to go ahead and pop in here and take a look at this. So, as always, excuse me, links will be down below in the description to the original video by the Vulcan and the Vulcan's channel. Please do me a favor and click those links. If you enjoy this video as we go through it, go over there and give it a like. And if you are not already subscribed to the Vulcan, but you've been enjoying his content, as you know, he and the Exploring series are frequent videos that do reactions to for the SCP universe, please go over there and check out his channel and give the man a sub. He makes a lot of wonderful content for the SCP universe, puts a lot of work into his videos, and he definitely deserves love. So please do me a favor going over there and doing that. If you'd like to join us when we do these reactions live, there is a join button underneath the video, as well as a link in the description to the YouTube memberships and the various benefits and tiers that I offer. You can get early access to videos, priority in any kind of requests you might have, or any kind of reaction videos you want me to do. You get your name at the end of the video, sub Discord channel, all that kind of stuff. So take a look at that. If you've been a member for or been around in the community for a while and you decide you want to take your support to the next level, just check those out. But for now, let's get into the video. So I'm interested what this one's going to be about. Obviously, the Scarlet King is one of the more interesting gods, deities, whatever you want to call it, entities in the SCP universe. You know, he's pretty much an entity of just destruction, just wanting to consume and destroy everything. And he's some kind of like essentially multiversal entity. He's like everywhere, or has the ability to be everywhere, kind of a thing, all at the same time. So yeah, I'm interested to see what this is going to get into with this Tufto's Proposal. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Item number SCP-1.
Safe, formerly Keter. That's interesting.
Safe, formerly Keter. Special containment procedures. Following the recent investigations of Dr. Robert Montauk, no action is currently needed to contain SCP-1. It is
interesting. And, you know, the Montauk, I think it's Montauk 110 proposed ritual is essentially, you know, what they're having to do to contain the Scarlet King. You know, supposedly it could be some kind of brutal thing that one of the Scarlet King's wives has to witness in order to create a sense of dread and anxiety that appeases Scarlet King. Some other, you know, ideas is that it's potentially just the act of doing some kind of ritual in and of itself is all that's needed. Some say she's, I guess, actually had already gone through the process and has been sent home, and they have like covered up the scenario. I don't know. But yeah, so no action is currently needed to contain it.
Functionally self-containing, and any Foundation interference may harm or alter its containment irreversibly.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
No Foundation personnel are to engage with any new matters related to SCP-1, with the exception of related anomalies already in Foundation containment. Description: SCP-1 is an entity ordinarily referred to as the Scarlet King. SCP-1 is currently located in several alternate dimensions simultaneously, and is unable to enter the Prime Dimension. However, it's
interesting that, you know, our dimension is considered the Prime Dimension. I find that fascinating.
Believed to have been repeatedly attempting entry for a period of under 300 years, previously several thousand. SCP-1's physical, mental, and conceptual properties are unknown to the Foundation. Nevertheless, it continues to assert a strong influence on a number of individuals and events within the Prime Dimension. It is believed that SCP-1's existence represents an ongoing but dormant Tashkent-class cross-pollination scenario. Should SCP...
I'm not familiar what Tashkent class is. But cross-pollination scenario, I would assume that means it's a situation where it's trying to invade like multiple universes at the same time to gain more power. Kind of a situation.
P1 enter the Prime timeline, an irreparable alteration to normalcy will occur. Containment of SCP-1 is, however, unnecessary. Previously top priority. Any attempt to alter SCP-1's classification or object class will result in immediate dismissal from the O5 Council.
Interesting.
References in art and oral tradition to SCP-1 appear across a wide variety of human and non-human cultures across the universe, including in communities which have never previously had any contact with one another. Common descriptions within these traditions are of a red creature of immense size, ordinarily wearing a golden crown or other headdress signifying royalty, although the name
It's interesting that it's a golden crown.
is ascribed to SCP.
I'm wondering if it's, I don't know, that just makes me have like a reference to SM, Adam LSM's crown, but I would assume that it has nothing to do with it.
P1 vary, the majority contain two elements, a word signifying some form of royalty combined with a word signifying the color red. Cultures which do not have a concept of the color red but follow this naming pattern will universally use a color analogous to the English concept of the color red. Most personnel, except those working on anomalies related to SCP-1, possess no knowledge of the entity. As part of SCP-2317's containment procedures, Level 4 personnel are to be informed that SCP-2317 is, in fact, SCP-1. The truth of this is unknown, although it is a hypothesis which has received strong support among several members of the Council. The apparently multidimensional nature of SCP-1, however, renders the possibility of SCP-2317 being any more than a single aspect of SCP-1 unlikely. It is unknown when SCP-1 was discovered. The loss of several archives containing the Foundation's origins in the 1889 Snarling coup has prevented a full reconstruction of events, although an investigation shortly following. A variety of groups dedicated to bringing SCP-1 into the Prime Dimension have existed over the years. The most recent of these has been the Children of the Scarlet King, which was destroyed in a joint GOC SCP operation in January 2018. Its former,
which was brought up in a previous Scarlet King video that we went over, going over the various wives that are the various women that were taken by them as part of the ritual to break his seal, and they had all become impregnated with various crazy things.
Leader Depeche Spivak is currently in Foundation custody under the designation Person of Interest 3172. Update: 1st of June 2018. SCP-1 has recently been the subject of an extensive investigation by Dr. Robert Montauk, project lead on SCP-1, 231, and 2317, and deviser of Procedure 110 Montauk.
Right.
Based on the results of this investigation, SCP-1 has been...
So I wonder then if that's a situation where they're still performing the 110 Montauk ritual as a means of like cover. Because they're trying to say that SCP-001, Scarlet King, is self-containing, we don't need to do anything, and in fact doing anything could actually be detrimental and actually, it could release him. So they're essentially covering it up by saying, it's actually SCP-231, and they still might be doing this procedure as, part of the cover.
Downgraded to safe following a decision taken by the O5 Council. Upon the request of the former O513, a number of documents related to this investigation can be found
again,
below. In order to provide context and further information pertaining to this theory, these have been curated, categorized, and included by the former O513 herself with the permission of O51 in order to provide some context to this reevaluation. Phase 1. Blood. Document 1. The following is an interview between Dr. Robert Montauk and POI 3172. Date: 1st of April, 2018. Interviewer: Dr. Robert Montauk. Interviewee: POI 3172. Location: Site 713, interview room 2. Again, Dr. Montauk. I don't understand what you people want from me.
What do you mean, you people?
Depeche? I'm sorry to do this to you again. I think it's silly too, to be honest. What we want from you are answers.
It's been what? Weeks? Months? You've dragged me down here into one of your interview rooms and asked me these endless questions. Well, you or one of your lackeys.
I'm sorry if you've been made to feel uncomfortable. It wasn't my intention, but it's hard to keep tabs on everything anymore. Have the guards been treating you badly in any way?
No, not really. I can't really complain. It's just their eyes. They look so dead, so cold.
If you like, I can rearrange some personnel and put someone else on your security detail. We're a bit short-staffed around here at the moment, and a lot of our best folks are away. And then there's the paperwork and the endless oversight. There's been some trouble with... well, you don't need to know about that.
You weren't what I expected, you know.
You thought the Foundation would be different?
No, I thought you would be.
You'd heard of me.
Of what you've done. Procedure 110 Montauk. Well, the people in my circles have done some dark things in their time. But that...
I merely did what was necessary, Mr. Spivak. As a Foundation researcher, and as someone who doesn't want to see his loved ones die.
Yes, that's very like the Foundation, isn't it? Everything done is justified by what is necessary. You see the world, the people moving through it, living lives touched only by totalizing universal laws of society and physics, and everything has to be channeled through those laws, and that which lies outside is to be contained. It's all so very simple.
You wouldn't say that if you worked here.
Some of us called you evil. I don't think that's quite it.
That's kind of you to say. And to tell you the truth, I don't think you're quite what I expected either. Especially given your reputation.
I've been told I am a hard person to get along with. Too cryptic, they say. One person even called me airy.
I don't think I'd call you airy. Your head may be in the clouds, but you seem to be maddeningly smug about it. Granted, not as smug as some of the delusional cults who have passed through here. I suppose I should be thankful for that, at least.
I'll try not to take that as an insult. But this is what I don't understand. Your procedure, 110 Montauk, it's not...
I can't discuss that, I'm afraid. We must get on.
I wonder what he was going to say. It's not. Probably was going to say it's not necessary or not needed, if I had to guess. And so, yeah, Montauk's cutting him off, saying we can't discuss that.
Time and tide and all that rubbish. Please tell me what the children of the Scarlet King's overall intention was.
The children are dead. There's not much left to tell you.
I would like to hear things in your own words.
Then I suppose you could say that our intention was to save the world.
And how are you planning to go about doing that?
Yeah, from what I understand, again, the Scarlet King is just an entity that wants to destroy everything, so how are you going to save the world by destroying it? Unless it's one of those situations where he wants to consume everything and destroy what currently is so that reality can be born anew in some new vision. You know, who knows? I also was, wanting to get to a moment where I could pause as we were talking. Again, this is just from the influence of the Cactus verse and stuff like that, but I wonder, is this the way the Scarlet King's body looks? Or is this like what his spirit looks like? Are they one and the same? You know what I'm saying? I'm just curious. Does his body look different from his spirit, etc.? Because, in that story, the body and his spirit had been separated. So when Demon Ogier fought him and was able to recontain him, it was because the Scarlet King wasn't able to get to full power because, it was just the physical body form that was resealed, etc., etc. So I would assume that they're probably one and the same, or his spirit is at least formless and shapeless, and this is just the body, what he would physically look like.
By bringing the Scarlet King into this reality, of course. You know this already.
But how would that save the world?
Doctor, is this really necessary? You took away his daughters years ago and ended up killing most of them. You have already annihilated our society, and I'm sure you know all about what went on within it.
We worshipped the king, pretending he was Satan or some other ancient god or evil. Our inner circle believed in violation as the ultimate holy act. We failed. You and the book burners destroyed us, and the matter has been put to rest.
You seem awfully calm while describing the destruction of your life's work.
What else can I do?
That's true. What else can you really do in that situation?
Maybe I always did.
Why do you refer to the Global Occult Coalition as the Book Burners? Were you and your group affiliated with the Serpent's Hand?
That's... It's complicated.
Interesting.
It's a simple enough question.
That would be interesting if there's some kind of offshoot of the Serpent's Hand in some way.
But there isn't a simple answer. Still, yes, we were affiliated with the Serpent's Hand. Most of us passed through there one time or another. They will to disavow us, of course, if you speak to them about us. They're not monsters like we are. They have moral precepts, you see. Their whole point is to look for wonder, and since they see no wonder in the king, they repudiate us utterly. But they know, deep down, they need us.
They need you? What for?
For the same reason they let us live. We raided the library, fought them, skirmished with them. They had a huge quantity of dirt on us, far more than you do. But they never finished the job. They're as bad as you jailers, in their own way. The same compartmentalization, the same singular goals. Their existence is based in nothing concrete. The empty time of history. That's all. Indeed, they came into being the same time as you. You're more similar than you realize.
Interesting.
That's impossible. The Serpent's Hand has been documented as existing long before the Foundation in any...
No, you missed the point. The library's always been
saying
there,
the library's always been there.
But not the Hand.
Gotcha.
The Hand was something new, like you all are. You think anybody ever cared about wonder in the old days? Nobody cared about wonder. They cared about food, family, and blood.
Well, and I mean, if, again, you're going into the Cactus verse, for what he's referring to as the old days, like, the world was already filled with all kinds of magic and wonder then, and compared to what it is now. So, I feel like that would also be more of the norm back then. So, people weren't necessarily looking for it because it was more normal.
What's that supposed to mean?
It means... you wouldn't get it anyway, but the Hand would. I think even the book burners do, in their own way. But the Hand is scared. They try to blot us out, forget us. We're what they should be, but never can be, you see.
Interesting.
Look, Depeche. I have tried...
I wonder what he means by that. He's claiming the Serpent's Hand is what the children of the Scarlet King are supposed to be, but can't be. I wonder what that's supposed to mean. Yeah, it is... Because to my understanding, essentially, I wonder, again, if it's getting into more of what we learned from the Cactus verse, where, you know, originally the Davites were kind of like the children of the Scarlet King. They worshipped him, and he was like the blood god kind of a situation. And they were all about chronicling history and like remembering things. But then they kind of like, an offshoot of them found the library, and they started to want to learn about new things instead of chronicling history. And so they kind of like rebelled against the Scarlet King and were able to separate his spirit and his body and then imprison his body and seal it away, kind of a situation. So I wonder if that's what he was referring to, if it's a situation where, you know, the Serpent's Hand was originally part of the Davite society that had worshipped the Scarlet King, and so he's saying that's what they should still be, you know, these chroniclers that worship what the king was. Yeah, interesting.
Tried to make things more comfortable for you, but we need some give and take. You're speaking in cliched, cryptic riddles. I want some answers.
I can't tell you everything. You wouldn't treat the information properly. You treat it as scientific fact, something to be swallowed, understood, contextualized.
And what's wrong with that?
Why are you doing this, Doctor? Why are you dredging this stuff up again?
I shouldn't tell you, but screw it. I'm tired of this. I've been working on SCP-1 for 2 decades. Project lead for almost 9 years after I came up with the procedure. I don't know. I'm tired. Everywhere I turn, I see the Scarlet King, but nothing about him makes any sense. Some bighorn devil, arcane blood god. It's all so small, so obvious. The Foundation has changed in the last decade, you see. We've faced conceptual demons, malevolent genre dwellers, sevenfold destroyers, all of which are far worse than some old sacrificed deity. But there, behind everything, I see this smiling fire. That dread. That old dread. It lingers. And this is despite seeing horrors far less easy and far more subtle trying to break the world on a daily basis. I just want to understand, I suppose. Peel back the layers. The tales upon contradictory tales, and find out who he really is.
You're being awfully candid.
To be honest, I've stopped caring. This job gets to you. The things you have to do. The
Interesting.
regrets. Well,
I wonder if he's being sincere or if he's using this as a tactic to get more information.
I'm too high up for anybody to touch me now. And I've run into too many dead ends to get hung up over protocol by this point. Just tell me something, Dipesh. Anything.
Okay, look. I like you, Montauk. You must be a cold-blooded bastard somewhere in there, or you wouldn't have come up with... Well, who am I to judge, eh? I'll tell you where to start.
I'm all ears.
There are 3 things to understand about the Scarlet King. 3 laws, which, when put together, make up a complete picture. 1 is the law of blood, 1 is the law of concrete, and 1 is the law of howling.
Interesting. Those seem to have like no kind of connection. The law of blood, concrete, and howling. I mean, blood, that seems to be, you know, kind of obvious sacrifice potentially. Concrete, you know, is that supposed to be a metaphor, or is it supposed to like literally mean concrete? I feel like it's more of a metaphor for like something of like substance, or grounded, I guess. I don't know. And then the law of howling, I have no idea what that would be. Maybe some, you know, something to do with torture and people like wailing from it, you know, the noises. I don't know.
3 laws, huh? That the king set down for his followers, or that were imposed upon him?
Both. The first was his law, the second was somebody else's, and as for the third... well, you'll find out about the third when you've cracked the first 2.
Interesting.
Very cryptic.
That's all I can tell you for now. You need to learn in the proper way.
That's really all you'll give?
That's all.
All right, Dipesh. Good talking with you, as ever.
Interesting conversation.
Document 2.
So, I mean, obviously this, Depeche knows a lot more than what he's letting on, or he potentially could be being vague as a means of trying to like bluff his way that he knows more to seem like he's more important, so the SCP doesn't just off him or whatever. But it could also be essentially like him trying to be vague enough to get them to investigate more, which would then because, you know, at the beginning it says that, you know, SCP-001, it's safe, don't do anything, leave it alone, it's fine. So it could be a situation where he's trying to get him to dig deeper, which would then, you know, potentially release him, kind of a situation.
The following is an
Release the
extract from
Scarlet
the
King.
memoirs of one Jack Hurst, a defector from the Children of the Scarlet King. Hurst was a high-level reality bender, capable of entering the bodies of humans in the past and experiencing their thoughts and emotions firsthand. The following is a description of what Hurst called the Battle of Gemeleth, purportedly a battle between SCP-1 and his followers against a group called the Children of the Urns.
Children of
Hurst
the
apparently
Urns.
experienced the battle from the perspective of a foot soldier in SCP-1's army. These memoirs were written shortly before Hurst's death in 1976. They were among the first documents consulted by Dr. Montauk during his investigation.
The fortress was monumental, made of volcanic rock and jagged iron, and built into a vast mountain. Every measurement, every angle was calculated to promote the king's ideology. The steel slats and bars may have seemed to be jutting out in random half-sawn directions, but if you could see the whole, then you'd see the symmetry. It was a perfect expression of cosmic order, expressed in endless sevens. It's a tough trip to remember, but bits and pieces come back. We were slaves, I think. We had been taken from a far-off land. The nobility looked down upon us with cruel eyes, but the king didn't care. He rewarded us, and so we were the instruments of his rule. When a village required the justice of the king, we would descend upon them with blood and iron. The villagers feared us, and that felt right to me. But when the horde came, with fire and burning and their cries of freedom, the villagers were still just as scared as they had been of us. That was not the fear of their master, I think, but the fear of anarchy. They did not know which way to turn. In the end, most betrayed us. Many had their daughters taken by our master. Old rites, blood rites, arcane rites.
Interesting.
But we stood upon the battlements, loyal to the last, our hearts bursting with happiness at the rightness of it all. I'm still not sure exactly what was going on. It was all so chaotic and full of red smoke, but I could feel my host's bloodlust. We stood and watched and waited. The sound of rubble and explosions came from across the hill, and the last battle begun. Then something strange happened. My host suddenly felt afraid, and he and I were somewhere else. The sky was not red, but black. I was not a slave, but part of a conscripted rabble. The peasants looked up at us. They were all starving. They held out their hands, begging, pleading, praying. The wind was their master, and it screamed at them. The horde was coming, but they, too, were starving. Then the scene flickered black, and I was in my host again, under a scarlet sky. The king's voice raged. The rabble of his armies was fleeing to the gates, but they would not open. Our arrows, coated in flame and pitch, flew back again, but the horde was undaunted. In my mind, I could see nothing but the fire of the king. I drew my sword. We all drew our swords. We all charged into the fray. And then, as it were,
I wonder if he's bouncing around between realities, right? Because, like, he's a reality bender, and he is in someone else's body, but he's also, like, seemingly connected with the Scarlet King psychically in some way. So I wonder if that connection, because the, Scarlet King is like a multiversal, multi-reality being, he's like jumping between realities and seeing different things. I don't know. It's interesting.
The scene changed again. There were no battlements, only the dark sky and the wind and a more ragged and lonely sky. The peasants pleaded. The nomads laughed, cheered, wept. The wind will rage no more, they said. The two scenes shifted in and out. A red fort bled into a black field. I have ruminated on it a long time, but I think they were the same battle, seen through two different eyes, or at least the memories of two different battles. The whole thing felt strange. It was not like most of my trips. It was a half-remembered cacophony. Two ideas ripping at each other. There was a timeline showing what really happened in that blackened wasteland, and there was one that had been made to be true, imposed throughout time on the truth. The last thing I remember was being sliced by a nomad sword, of a frail urn being held high, of 7 brides being...
So it's almost like someone had altered reality to rewrite history to make a certain battle happen a different way. I wonder if that's going into the issue with like the Davite book, right? Because there's an SCP book where it changes the history of the Davites, who again worship the Scarlet King, or at one point in time did. So I wonder if that's what's happening, and it's altering reality, but he's remembering a different, reality.
Being ripped from a castle, or they were ripped from a field, taken as the spoils of war by some obscure tribe in some lost steppe. I remember the king screaming, writhing, thrashing as he was sealed. And then I died and woke up, back at the ritual. For a second I wondered if the others had just made up the king and sent some image of him back to the past. But I don't think that was true. They lacked the power. And besides, it was never a total lie. There was something in that wicked wind that reminded me of some of the older rituals. It was then that I decided to leave the children. I went that night, without a word. They didn't stop me. Probably figured it wasn't worth the effort. They were so certain in the success of their mission, but I wanted no part in that anymore. The things I saw were based upon the law of blood, and I can only pray that they never come to pass.
Document 3. The following is a log of all known attempts by anomalous groups to force SCP-1's entry into the Prime Dimension since the containment of SCP-231.
So interesting. He seems to have remembered two different, realities, apparently. One was the truth, and one was fabricated. Huh. It seems like there was a battle, the Scarlet King lost, and was sealed away. Or perhaps maybe he wasn't. I don't know. I'm trying to wrap my mind around that. Because it's like, okay, he saw a vision of the Scarlet King being sealed, right? So is it like, I'm wondering, is it a situation where that didn't happen? The Scarlet King was never sealed, and that was just a fabricated, memory that these children of the Scarlet King hold on to for whatever reason. And so anything they're trying to do with these rituals are meaningless? I don't know. I'm kind of confused about that. Might have to go back at some point and kind of rewatch through that and listen to that again. But anyway, let's move on.
Date: the 1st of March, 2009. Group of interest: Provisional Children of the Scarlet King. Details of attempt: summoning attempt was performed by the ritual of smearing blood, and then the destruction of rubble recovered from the demolition of the Cochrane Gardens housing project complex in St. Louis, Missouri. It is believed that the children of the Scarlet King manipulated state officials into the demolition over the course of several years, and that this splinter group continued their work as the original children went into decline. Result: attempt prevented by a Foundation raid. Date: 12th of May, 2012. Group of interest: Red Guards. Details of attempt: appeared to be using the blood, bones, and spinal fluid of several animals, combined with ritual chanting to create a portal to SCP-1. A large number of SCP Foundation logos, carved out of bone, were placed around the ritual site in a defensive position. These logos were slightly incorrectly carved. Result: attempt not detected by any group of interest, and came extremely close to success. However, it appears a critical mistake in the words of ritual instead resulted in a large explosive blast and destroyed all the assembled members of the guards.
That's gotta suck.
Unknown why the guards.
How shitty would that be, being like literally right at the step of achievement and having this goal, but you said something wrong, like you said potato instead of potato or something like that, and then the ritual blew up in your face and you all died. Like, how shitty would that be, dude?
Guards apparently wished to invoke Foundation protection for their ceremony. Date: February 7th, 2014. Group of interest, Global Occult Coalition. Details
Really?
of attempt, unknown. Result, unknown, but did not succeed. Global Occult Coalition records pertaining to the incident are missing, with the exception of the name Operation Historical Frontier, with the mission statement to exacerbate tensions of historical time in order to bring forth and destroy a significant occult threat. It is believed that several Global Occult Coalition
So they wanted to bring the Scarlet King into reality to try to destroy it for good?
operatives were killed in the attempt. Date, 1st of January 2017. Group of interest, Army of the New Dawn. Details of attempt. Attempt involved the ritual burning of several calendars adhering to the Gregorian calendar, while members of the group raised up blood-soaked calendars adhering to the Julian, Hijri, and Persian solar systems to an effigy of SCP-1. Result, attempt prevented by members of the Serpent's Hand. All materials were recovered and taken to the Wanderer's library. Date, 17th of September 2017. Group of interest, the Serpent's Hand. Details of attempt, largely unknown. Details are unclear, but it is believed it involved the highly selective destruction of particular books within the Wanderer's library. Result, attempt was purportedly foiled due to a schism in the group. The resulting casualties severely damaged the library.
Interesting. So that's basically kind of the story that the other dude was talking about, where they broke into the library, they stole a bunch of stuff. And like the Serpent's Hand has been like kind of after him since. Interesting.
Phase 2. Concrete.
I'm curious what Concrete's
Document
supposed to be
4.
about.
The following is an interview between Robert Montauk and POI 3172.
Date, 14th of April, 2018. Interviewer, Dr. Robert Montauk. Interviewee, POI 3172. Location, Site 713, Interview Room 2. Hello again, Robert.
Hello, Depeche. I looked up your laws.
Hello, Depeche.
I'm afraid I'm none the wiser.
You'll get there. What did you find?
The law of blood is referenced a few times in quite a few places, but I couldn't find any concrete information.
I worried you wouldn't.
There was only one source of real use. A description of something called the Battle of Gemeleth, written by a defector from the Children.
Hurst. Yes. I read his memoir once. The only genuine witness of the king's sealing. Although a rather unreliable one.
How on earth?
Oh, he embellished. He didn't leave straight away. I stumbled upon some early draft in his things shortly before he left. I was young back then, and I remember how passionately he argued after his vision. Said we got the king all wrong, and that he wasn't a demon or a monarch, but that he was a voice on the wind. When I was older and had figured it all out, I was surprised how close he got to a fuller understanding. He just wasn't quite there.
It's almost trying to say the Scarlet King is almost kind of like a force of nature, essentially. He just exists, you know? There isn't like any kind of real ceiling or anything like that, I guess. Interesting.
I should have guessed he was a liar.
He's not a liar, exactly. Just a little lost. And you only have my word for it, Doctor, which the Foundation has made abundantly clear it doesn't trust.
There's no reason to doubt you. What do you have to lose? You seem as eager for me to learn the truth as I am.
True. And on that note, I have a question, if I may.
Shoot. The longer I keep you talking, the greater the chance you'll slip up and tell me something you shouldn't.
Do you know why the Procedure 110 Montauk actually works?
Sorry, Depeche, I can't talk to you about that.
It's okay. I think I know the answer anyway. Tell me, did you lose someone?
I don't know what you mean.
I'm sorry to bring back painful memories, but I have looked at the Foundation archives too, you know. It was necessary back in the day to check up on what your lot were doing to his daughters. I know that your brother...
Stop talking. This interview is not about my private affairs.
I'm sorry, Doctor, I didn't mean...
Please state the meaning of this law of blood.
Isn't it obvious? It's the way the Scarlet King ruled. There was order, but It was through the imposition of an iron will on the peasantry, through armies of slaves, through a nobility bred to be cruel, the realities of the world of his day in his corner of the globe.
And that essentially, it kind of goes along with what the Davites were, from my understanding. Like, they were kind of mostly a society of, like, noble, you know, citizens, monarchs, whatever, that were essentially necromancers. They used blood magic and would do all kinds of sacrifices and rituals and things like that for their own power, and I guess for the Scarlet King, potentially.
Does this have to do with SCP-1's nature? What are these other laws?
I suggest you look into the second.
I don't have time to play your games. Tell me now, POI 3172, or you will be escorted to solitary.
Oh, Dr. Montauk, I am sorry, but you must look for the law of concrete. That is all.
This interview is terminated.
Rip.
Document 5. The following is a page from the 1891 report of Agent de Beauvoir on Lost Foundation archives following the 1889 Snarling coup. The report was lost shortly after de Beauvoir's termination in 1895, along with several other documents from the Foundation archives. This page was recovered through unknown means by Dr. Montauk. No other materials from these data losses have been found.
Summary. The documents lost are extremely extensive, covering a wide range of data concerning the Foundation's early history. In particular, several documents related to SCP-1 have gone missing. However, my investigations have provided me with a great deal of information, and I believe that I can say with some certainty that the historical record, as stated in Scranton's comprehensive history, remains broadly intact, albeit with some modifications I will detail below. Scranton's work states that the Foundation was founded in...
So, I assume Scranton is referring to the doctor that created the Scranton reality anchors. I assume that's the same person, right? Maybe I'm misremembering or Anyway.
In 1824, by the merger of 13 worldwide organizations, with a particular interest in preventing awareness of anomalous activities. The most prominent of these were the Foundation of the Secure Containment of the Unnatural.
The Foundation of Secure Containment of the Unnatural. That was from the 1800s. I mean, that sounds kind of very League of Extraordinary Gentlemen-ish, you know? Let's continue
The
with the list of activities.
Jadui, the United Sites of the Department of Unexplained Affairs, the Council of Five Overseers, and the Committee of Paranormal Ethics. Scranton goes on to tell us that this was done in response to the...
I was wondering if something was going to be mentioned about the Department of Abnormalities. So I wonder if containment of the secure containment of the unnatural, the Foundation of Secure and Containment of the Natural was like a precursor even to the Department of Abnormalities. I don't know why the Department of Abnormalities just sounds very like World War II-ish. It just gives me World War II vibes. So I wonder if this was like a precursor to even that. And then we got to the Department of Abnormalities, which then became the SCP Foundation.
The threat posed by SCP-1, and that the early Foundation had an extensive role to play in that anomaly's containment. However, the documents I have before me present a rather different picture.
I wonder if, again, like, these are just false documents, like, trying to cover up anything with the Scarlet King.
Appears that the Foundation was not founded in response to SCP-1 at all. Indeed, I cannot find any references to the present SCP-1 prior to 1826. It appears to have been a highly publicized attack by SCP-173 in New York, which was the initial impetus for the Foundation's formation. SCP-173's still unresolved containment breach in 1854 is, I believe, the reason for the alteration of the record. Scranton's embarrassment at...
Document 6.
And it ends there.
The following is a table compiled by Dr. Montauk. It shows a series of votes passed by the O5 Council correlated with incidents potentially or certainly involving SCP-1. Date of vote, 9th of July, 1844. Description of vote. Vote to officially standardize documentation across the SCP Foundation. Passed 13-0. Related SCP-1 incident. A series of hymns devoted to SCP-1 heard outside Site-1. Date of vote: 1st of February, 1857. Description of vote: vote to standardize containment procedures for SCP-1. Passed 12-1. Related SCP-1 incident. All members of the O5 Council reported dreaming of an unidentified man of South Asian origin weeping. Date of vote: the 9th of November, 1895. Description of vote: vote on the termination of Agent de Beauvoir. Passed.
You know, I wonder if this is going to be a situation where the Scarlet King was never sealed or has already been released or something like that. And it's like, what is that saying? The best trick the devil ever pulled off was making you think he doesn't exist. I wonder if it's a situation like that where like Scarlet King actually is here and is around, but he's like implanted these thoughts and ideas that throughout history that he's been sealed away, etc., etc. But he's actually, you know, alive and well and doing whatever. But if that's the case, then what is the Scarlet King really here for? What is he trying to do? Does, you know, because the idea, again, that from my understanding, he's just consumed with the need to destroy everything. He's like the great destroyer, just wants to consume all life and existence and just end everything for whatever reason. So if that's not the case, I wonder what really is going on.
6-5, 2 abstentions. Related SCP-1 incident. A large quantity of blood-stained sheets of paper with the words SCP-1 written in blood over each sheet spontaneously manifested in the bedrooms of all members of the O5 Council. The blood was later identified to belong to Agent de Beauvoir and an unknown species of poultry. Date of vote: 10th of October, 1902. Description of vote: vote on the implementation of the site system. Passed 10-2, 1 abstention. Related SCP-1 incident. A location in North America saw sudden and unexplained wildfires. Residents reported seeing dragons made of fire and a horned crown appear in the night sky above the area. The wildfires were found in 2007 to have begun at the location of the future Site-19. Date of vote: 23rd of January, 1922. Description of vote: vote on the containment procedures for SCP-2317. Passed 4-3, 6 abstentions. Related SCP-1 incident. Several cracks appeared in the earth near Containment Area 179. Red smoke was seen pouring out of each crack for 7 minutes, before the cracks abruptly closed.
Interesting.
Date of vote: 8th of February, 2011. Description of vote: vote to unify the Project Purview.
These are jumping around quite a bit. 1902, 1922, 2011.
Of SCP-1, SCP-231, and SCP-2317. Passed 10-2, 1 abstention. Related SCP-1 incident. A series of hymns devoted to SCP-1 heard outside Site-1.
Which I'm pretty sure were played in the previous video that I did with the Scarlet King and his wives.
First with the sound of laughter. Date of vote: 31st of March, 2018. Description of vote: vote on the object class reclassification of SCP-2317. Passed 9-4. Related SCP-1 incident. Several interdimensional rifts open outside Containment Area 179. These rifts alternated between opening on Universe Kappa Erakesh and opening onto an unknown dimension. This unknown dimension is characterized by the presence of a large quantity of red smoke and an unknown number of human voices screaming from within. Document 7. The following is an extract from the 1972 political work Manifesto for Old Order by Children of the Scarlet King member Adrienne Cartwright. Cartwright's work is only found in unpublished copies among anomalous circles and groups related to SCP-1. Fragments such as this were recovered by Dr. Montauk during the course of this investigation.
The sin of modernity is vital to understand. It is not that we glorify the pre-modern. The suffering was very real and very extant. We must not fall into the trap of seeing the past as a series of beautiful Arcadias, full of dancing around maypoles and shepherds living in pleasant anarchy. The past was brutal, but it was also real. It was.
I'm not really saying much so far in this video. I mean, I've, proposed different ideas and various things, whatever, but like, I'm trying to get an overall picture of what is going on here, and I'm just not really grasping exactly what's going on. Like, is this, again, like, was the Scarlet King really sealed away? Was it not? Were those memories fake? Obviously, it seems to have some kind of tie-in with the history of the Davites and the Serpent Hand splitting off from them and potentially sealing him away. The timeline seems different, but again, that's like Cactus verse stuff, versus this potentially not being anything to do with that. But like, I'm wondering where, I guess, this is really going. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of information, but it doesn't, it's not really painting like a picture of what's going on. Like, like the ritual of blood, the blood part of it. Okay, so like, that seems to be a reference to how the Davites ruled their society, with the nobility being, kind of necromancers, and they would sacrifice the peasants and the lessers or whatever. And there was a lot of slave stuff going on. So that seems to be a reference to that. They're still going through this concrete thing here, but I'm not really getting kind of a picture of what the concrete part of the thing is. The howling, I wonder if it has something to do with whatever the wind they were talking about before. But it just, like I said, I'm not really getting kind of a picture of where this proposal is really going and what all it really kind of means. Like, I'm still kind of wondering, like, again, is the Scarlet King actually really sealed away? Is he not? Is this supposed to kind of like imply some kind of way that the Scarlet King actually isn't real and doesn't really exist unless they will him to be, through some kind of ritual or something like that? I don't know. I mean, it seems to not necessarily be that case, because they've gone through and talked about the different factions that had tried to bring him in, including the Global Coalition, which I guess the only reason why they would want to would be to like bring him into existence so they could try to kill him, so that he would no longer be a threat. But also, again, they're hinting at that the Montauk, ritual protocol 110 Montauk isn't necessarily needed, and it's something that they created as a way, I guess, to keep the cover going, that the Scarlet King is some kind of crazy, deity that, is potentially going to break out at any moment, so they've got to keep this ritual going. I don't know. There's a lot of information, a lot of things going on that seem to be going in a lot of different directions, and I don't really see how it's all necessarily connecting yet.
Wasn't really the pre-modern too. That is merely how historians have characterized it. They are wedded to their theory of modernization and can conceive of no alternate mode of development other than a singular drive towards the contemporary West, with other modes of living seen as being stuck in some imagined earlier place on a timeline. It's all nonsense. The people of the past were capable of seeing the world as it really is. Those of us who have joined the King's forces can all see this truth, that there is something very, very wrong with the world in which we live. Our buildings are made of calcifying, peeling concrete as we shamble each day to jobs and lives created solely for the purpose of maintaining their own system. But there is no other way to live.
So is this supposed to be like, differences, like, okay, like it was mentioned that the Scarlet King potentially is a being that just wants order. I don't know. It kind of is giving me like Elden Ring vibes with that whole, you know, the greater will just is a being that wants order, doesn't necessarily care what kind of order it is, as long as there's some kind of established order. So, like, in the past, there was the order of blood. The present is the order of concrete. And I guess the future is going towards the order of howling, maybe? Is that what this is, like, hinting at, or where it's going? I don't know.
Socialism, anarchism, syndicalism, these are little more than constructed pipe dreams. The frail thoughts of lesser men trying to impose their antiquated prejudices on the world around them. No, there is only one alternative way to live. To cast down the law of concrete is to raise up the law of blood.
Okay.
We must learn what it is to die, to be enslaved, truly, brutally enslaved, with no compassion or compunction from our masters. We must learn what it is to be taken towards a single purpose, to know and truly understand our lack of agency. We must be beholden to the world of gods and
this guy's quite fanatical.
The tempest-tossed refuse of a race of fools. We must kill modernity, post-modernity, with all its analysis and sneering observation. There is only one rule. The rule of chaos. For humanity. For life.
This man is sounding like he's straight out of 40K with what he's talking about there. The rule of chaos. He's starting to paint the Scarlet King as like another persona for Korn over here. You know what I'm saying? Blood for the blood god, skulls for the skull throne. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Let's continue.
For the Scarlet King.
Phase 3. The Howling. Document 8. The following is an interview between Dr. Robert Montauk and POI 3172.
Date, 29th of April, 2018. Interviewer, Dr. Robert Montauk. Interviewee, POI 3172. Location, Site 713, Interview Room 2.
Hello, Depeche.
Hello, Dr. Montauk. I hope our last meeting...
I'm sorry for my unprofessional behavior. You touched on a sore subject.
Of course. I will try to refrain from doing so in the future.
Shall we begin?
This time, Doctor, I have a question for you.
Indeed. I suppose it can't be worse than your last.
Well, what do you know of the origins of the Scarlet King?
There are many theories. A creature from the abyss, some shambling thing of old.
Denizen of Alagata, interesting.
Denizen of Alagata.
They are all, I will not say lies, but the texts have changed. The knowledge has changed. The past itself has been changed by what came after.
So I wonder if what he's saying there by like the text has changed, blah, 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 is again referencing this Davite book that changes history. And I wonder if that's what it's referring to then. As well with the Scarlet King. That he is changed along with it in some way.
He's changed the past?
No. His past has changed for him. But now you tell me something. This should be a give and take, after all.
This is not...
Why did you approve the Montauk procedure? I'm sorry if I've offended you.
I thought I made it clear that this is none of your business.
See, the thing I don't get is that it should not have worked. Not in the way the Foundation does.
This is not under discussion.
What happened to Jacob, Doctor? What happened to your brother?
This interview
Oh,
is...
all right, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to hurt you, Doctor, truly. I just want to understand. It's just, it shouldn't have worked. The child should have been born.
I was angry. When I drew it up, It was unprofessional.
Did you think we took Jacob?
Well, what the hell was I supposed to think? I start looking into your lot, making discovery after discovery, and then he Look, this isn't relevant.
All right, I'm sorry I asked. But can we agree that this was not a decision made scientifically? That it was done in a moment of rage, fury, hate?
I didn't... The girl. I didn't mean to...
But you did, Doctor. Look, I'm sorry. I don't mean to dredge these old wounds up for you.
Why are you then?
Because I just want to understand. And now I think I do.
How?
I don't know where to begin. Let me go back. I don't think your department has very much activity in recent months. Not after the Hands attempt to open the gates, right? Your procedure keeps the girl from giving birth. The nomads keep fighting their endless war. The spears are safely locked away by the book burners, and the Devourer, well, there's nothing you can really do about the Devourer now, is there?
SCP-2317 isn't SCP-1.
Wasn't SCP-1. But the thing is, you've been telling...
Oh, okay. I see where potentially this is going. He wasn't originally this great devourer, but because they've been telling everyone that he is, people are believing it, so they're making it a reality.
Everyone he is. Technically, you're meant to think that he is. If I understand Foundation hierarchies correctly, you are only a level 4 after all.
I don't understand.
Across every culture in...
So is this a situation where the Scarlet King is some kind of deity that essentially is like, how do I want to put this? Like Gozer in Ghostbusters, I guess, where like they choose his form and what kind of god he is based on their beliefs for him, and that changes throughout history and time. Is that where this is going?
In every city and tribe and civilization, you've come across the idea of the Scarlet King. Always the same. An emperor in red with a burning crown and an ethos rooted in some archaic fear of female sexuality. He is always the same. A monster that is all-consuming and terrible, but so understandable. The big bad thing in the dark, full of rape and fire and old blood ritual. Does it never strike you as odd that this is the thing behind the eyes? You've faced monsters far grander and more subtle, as you've told me yourself. But always there's that lingering fear and knowledge of this hidden but oh so simple thing standing behind it all.
You know it strikes me as odd. I told you as much myself. But I also stopped trying to make sense of our world a long time ago. The anomalous does not play by the rules of man. I'm too old to start redefining the universe.
But the thing you don't remember, or don't know, is that this wasn't the only past. The Scarlet King used to be something very different. He wasn't a monarch. And he wasn't always red. He was the whisper on the wind that kept the peasants working, staring up in fear of his righteous famine. He was that inborn knowledge of a world of gods and demons which belied human agency and existed beyond us. He was the cold hunger of famine that had no rhyme and reason, but the cold apathy of a supernatural beyond us. And
So the idea that I guess he was like the god the peasants feared, and if they didn't work, you know, tend their crops, etc., you know, there would be famine and they would starve.
given enough belief, he could be the Devourer too. He is a creature of truth.
You mean he transformed from one type of deity into another?
The
Yeah.
Scarlet King is not a deity, Doctor. The Scarlet King is an idea.
What? But he's real, physical. We've seen...
I can't tell you anymore. Not yet. Did you find anything out about the law of concrete?
So he may have like a physical body, but again, This is, again, kind of going into the Cactus verse, you know, influence. Like, if his spirit is separate, then I guess his spirit could essentially change into whatever it wants to be. You know, based on who and what's worshiping him. And yeah. It very much does sound kind of like a Chaos God from Warhammer kind of a situation where the idea and belief in it, enough of it, and get, like, if there's enough belief in the idea of it and there's enough potency behind that belief, it can form into reality kind of a situation. This is where I feel like this is going.
No.
And so the Scarlet King has kind of always existed, but he's taken on different forms and different personas based on different cultures and different people's beliefs throughout time. And then because of that, his past has always changed because the belief in him and the humans' creativity, wanting to make this god, you know, great lore behind them or whatever, or potentially the idea that it's just the author changing him over time. It could be a fourth wall thing too. But yeah, it's just the idea that that's why his past has always changed, because the idea of him has changed and people are, you know, I guess adding more to the myth of the Scarlet King over time.
Not much. I found out that there seems to be a disturbing correlation between the activities of the King's followers and certain decisions made by the Council.
I see.
But there wasn't much else at all. The trail led me to some lost documents, but eventually all I found was a dead end. A document about the Foundation's origins and some insane old child ranting on about modernity.
Cartwright, I presume. That makes sense.
You are a maddeningly infuriating person, you know. Why can't you just tell me this stuff properly?
I am your prisoner. You did destroy my life's work. Why should I help you?
Because you're bored. Because you think none of this matters. And because you love tormenting me.
I don't, you know.
The Scarlet King is an idea? What the hell is that meant to me?
Oh, you're close now, Doctor. Close to the truth. I can see it in you. You will understand. And then you'll understand me. Why I did what I did. Why I was a member of the Children.
That also would make sense in why they raided the library for more books, because they were trying to acquire probably more information on the Scarlet King and I guess the various ideas and, you know, the various ideas that the Scarlet King was throughout history, you know, et cetera, et cetera.
I know you're curious.
You do seem oddly well adjusted to be a Satan worshiper.
Be careful, Doctor. The law of the howling may break you.
Cryptic as ever, Spivak. All right. Until next time.
Goodbye, Doctor.
Document 9. The following is a translated excerpt from the 1953 Bengali work, Lala Raja. The work had been lost for some time and rediscovered by Dr. Montauk in the course of this investigation.
And so the British rule continued. Something began to come with them, piece by piece. A shadow at first, a red thing, but it was not whole. It was not even in pieces. It was something that crept up slowly, piece by piece. It met the shadows of our country, the mice bleeding in the rice fields, and it began to take form. It didn't have a mind, not at first. It wasn't enough of a real thing to have one. It was a set of images. It was a blood-red slab of skin taken from the heart of some Christian demon, which was set upon an ancient magician of Hindu rites. But then it was categorized, written down, described with precise scientific terminology. It didn't like that. Things of magic, technology, empire that were never meant to mix, all came together and began to bend the nature of the world. As Europe came to us, more and more as we learned to be civilized, our religion began to change too, And Antishesha was not an ancient and capricious god in the form of an immense snake. It was a moray eel of scientifically unusual size, noted for producing amnesiacs and causing a cognitohazardous effect.
I also think it's interesting that that's the serpent of nothing, the opposite of the serpent of knowledge. You know, it makes everyone forget. I find that fascinating.
We learned that we were Hindu, that we always had been Hindu, and that all our various and mixed beliefs were all variations on a singular ideal, because the British weren't comfortable enough with another way of living which could not be classified, explained, killed, like a butterfly pinned to a board. But beneath lay this fury, a cry for authenticity, for reality, even as we expressed ourselves more and more in their language and their categories. Even in our struggle against them, it lay in our literature, in Tagore and others. It lay.
So I wonder if that's the idea of what the law of howling is when a group of people are seeking something greater than themselves to believe in, and it gets to a point where they kind of like revolt, kind of a situation. I wonder if that's where this is going with that.
In our Ada, in our menial jobs as clerks. The endless struggling tension between the old and new, between modernity and pre-modernity, and in those fault lines, in that cry of rage and fury in our...
It is also interesting that the past struggling and fighting with the present is something as a theme that keeps coming up. Post-modernity and pre-modernity and blah, blah, blah.
Hatred of the old and the hatred of the new. There rose a hybrid obeying nothing but the law of the howling. There rose the Lala Raja. Because what is he but the cry of a forgotten age? He is the British peasant staring up at the red sky, the Bengali widow's weeping and shaven head, the Aztec priest ripping out another's heart. He is all those things transformed, as modernity does to everything, into modernity's own destruction. He is the resistance, the fury, the hatred of all that was for all that presently is. What we were was full of good and evil.
So is that what the law of howling is? The law of howling is the idea that eventually groups of people come together, essentially wanting a change of what, like, to break up the status quo, you know, whatever, you know, is currently the norm in society as far as like order and things go, to break that up and to change it, to search for something new, I guess, potentially.
And all else mixed together. The happiness, the beauty of the world, the struggles and heartache and reality of it all. But now we have lost almost all of it to the machine, except our rage. And that's all that's left. And thus comes the king. The howl of the destroyed and forgotten and oppressed. His only purpose is to destroy, rape, maim, enslave, and smile. Smile that smile of a king whose enemies weep before him. He cannot...
It almost like it's kind of like sounding like, again, very Cornish, very like chaos god, or it also reminds me of like Ares, the god of war, kind of a situation of, you know, people, the oppressed, the downtrodden, the people that society, you know, has forgotten, eventually coming together, rising up, revolting, destroying what is the current establishment. That's the law of howling, and creating something new that becomes then a cycle. It goes back to the law of blood, you know, establishing some kind of new order, and then it goes to the law of concrete, which I guess is like when things become kind of stagnant, and there's like, it's getting to a point of like boiling over into a new revolt and revolution, and that gets destroyed down. And this sounds like it's almost like a cycle, and like that in general is what the Scarlet King is this cycle of things happening, and it just takes a new form throughout history for whatever the current cycle is.
not exist where there is no modernity, because his entire purpose is given to him by modernity. He is a god of blood, a god of spine and bone and sinew, to remind the denizens of this world that it is not good. It is cruel and hateful, and that is good. That is right. Modernity is a sin, and he is the correction, so that we can once again live as we must. Cold and hungry and starving and very, very afraid.
It almost sounds like it's also like a situation of like people are becoming too comfortable with their modern lives, and he's trying to like, it's almost like the Scarlet King is like a god of wanting to remind people of how the real world works, that the real world is savage and harsh and cruel and unforgiving, and that's kind of what he's talking about here, that we can once again live as we must, cold and hungry and starving and afraid, very afraid. The idea of, having to go back to kind of a hunter-gatherer situation, maybe again that could also be kind of like what the Scarlet King is about, is a cycle of humanity getting to a certain point in civilization, and then some kind of destruction event happens and it resetting back to kind of a more hunter-gatherer tribal system till eventually civilization comes around again. I don't know. There's a lot of different ways and different ideas and different ways of thinking that I guess this could go. It seems like the Scarlet King, again, like you said, is an idea, but it's encompassing a lot of different things. The idea of that because the Scarlet King, I guess, is an idea, it could just be simply that. It's, whatever is needed for the present time, the Scarlet King can take that form, I guess. I don't know. Anyway.
Document 10. The following note was found in Dr. Montauk's personal quarters. It is believed to have been written shortly after Dr. Montauk's discovery of Lala Raja.
SCP-1 is a conceptual entity created at the boundaries of the modern and the pre-modern. The Scarlet King is a thing of blood and bone and sinew. His rule is just. The justice of the dark. SCP-1 is a creature, Emperor. A physical being made manifest in a conceptual. He comes with fear and a sword dripping with wrath and fire. SCP-1 originated in ancient Turkmenistan. It is believed that it was originally a Scythian deity who rode with thunder in their hooves and the bow on their backs, laughing as they slaughter. SCP-1 is a scientific phenomenon. It will be classified. It will be contained. Described. It will be understood as an anomalous entity, as with every other, but he exists in the cracks, the fault lines. He feeds on description. He feeds on science, on the objective principles and qualities. 7 chains, 7 brides, 7 seals for the Scarlet. I am Robert Montauk, Level 4 researcher, project lead on SCP-1. I am a researcher. I impose my solid mechanical will.
Man sounds like he's going insane.
Control. I possess agency. I possess agency. I am a quivering thing, looking up at a dark and clouded sky, fearing the Almighty God. I am free. I am chained. I am a doctor. I am a child.
Document 11. On the 22nd of May 2018, a large crack appeared in the wall of POI 3172's containment chambers. The crack appeared to open on another dimension. A large quantity of red smoke could be seen pouring out of it, while an unknown number of human voices could be heard screaming from it. Foundation staff found themselves unable to enter POI 3172's containment chamber. POI 3172 informed them that he would only permit Dr. Montauk entry into his chamber and would communicate with nobody else. After some debate, Dr. Montauk was permitted entry into the containment chamber to interview POI 3172. The log follows.
Date, 22nd of May, 2018. Interviewer, Dr. Robert Montauk. Interviewee, POI 3172. Location, Site 713, Humanoid Containment Chamber 77. Dr. Montauk enters the chamber and approaches POI 3172. POI 3172 is standing in front of a jagged crack in the far wall. Red light and smoke can be seen emerging from this crack.
Hello there, Depeche.
Hello, Doctor.
Always formal, even to the last, aren't you? Can I ask you what this is?
A plea for attention, mostly. I wanted to see you again, and my requests were all denied. It's been weeks, Doctor.
I had nothing to ask you.
I thought so. You have deduced the truth, haven't you?
Maybe, yes. Did that just...
It grows and shrinks depending on the situation. Different actions have different meanings, and thus different effects. It all depends on context. The other children never got that, but, well, they never got anything, really. They thought we were all devil worshippers heading for violation. Only I understood the point.
It took me a while to understand.
I didn't think you would.
Just tell me. Did the procedure even matter? What we do, is it even relevant?
To prevent
Like, has this dude been like the Scarlet King the whole time, and has he been talking to him and just like trying to hint to him? I don't know. This is going in so many different weird directions, and there's like so much like kind of general vague information that I'm not sure 100% of what really is going on. Hopefully it'll be cleared up here by the end. But, you know, I get that essentially the idea behind the Scarlet King is that he is just that, is an idea. I guess according to Dr. Montauk from his research, he was originally some kind of Sumerian god, and then throughout history, because of different people's beliefs, has taken on different forms. And anytime civilization seemingly, I guess, reaches a certain point, he kind of rears his head and creates some kind of revolution, uprising, something like that. I don't know.
prevent the birth. It had to be something awful. Something evil expressed in pain and rage and fury. That's why it worked. It was never a sincere attempt to formulate a scientific procedure on your part. It was just pure, unadulterated hatred, wrapped in a veneer of objectivity. You thought the king had taken your brother, so you decided to hurt the king. You didn't, of course. And what you do each day to that poor little girl is more than mere cruelty, but effective cruelty. The specifics are unimportant, but the intent, that matters for everything.
Yeah. So and that's the thing, I guess, like behind these rituals. The actual rituals themselves may not necessarily matter. It's all about the intent behind the ritual, and the intent is what causes it to be so effective.
I should stop it.
And then what? The Foundation won't get it. They will never understand the law of the Howling.
If I explain...
They can't imagine it. It's beyond their conception of reality. But you might. So tell me, Doctor. Do you know why the Scarlet King exists?
Because modernity and
No. Because the SCP Foundation exists. Modernity helped shape him, define the contours of his rage. But it was when modernity started interfering in his kingdom that he was crystallized. Modernity in the form of you. Your lot came first. You came into being to lock away, classify, pin down everything that didn't fit into your philosophy of enlightenment rationality. Everything had to be understood, contextualized, transformed from fairy and godhood into simple, comprehensible chunks of logic and matter. It's abhorrent, and it could never go on forever. Something had to give. Something had to rise up in opposition.
We were first. Truthfully, I know that Beauvoir had... Was this thing really our fault?
That depends. Is it your fault if you don't know you're doing it?
I don't know.
Neither do I.
The ceremonies, they all held that contrast.
The king cannot exist without that tension. We needed those symbols of modernity, those stark gray images to make the rift in the first place. It was the perfect plan.
But you failed.
Yes.
The Foundation was formed in the 1820s. It was formed to protect the world by the dark by a collection of brave men and women. To secure, contain, protect. That is our purpose. There is a virtue in normalcy which I don't think you can see.
So now it's getting into a situation where, like, okay, because of the Foundation's principles, because of how strong their beliefs are in these principles and how, what's the word I'm looking for? Resolute, I guess. Not the word I was looking for, but it'll do, I guess. How resolute they are in their convictions to understand, classify everything, and contain the anomalous. That because of how strong those beliefs are, they then created the opposite. Again, there has to be a balance, yin and yang, light and dark, kind of a situation. So because of how strong SCP's, the Foundation's beliefs are in, doing what they do, the Scarlet King was created as an opposite to them.
The world can be understood. Truth, reason, rationality. The Enlightenment. These are our bedrock. These are what have allowed us to see what is objective.
Do you really believe that?
I have to.
You're a scientist. You should know that there's no such thing as an objectively true finding in any science. There's always room for doubt. Always space for error.
But that's just humanity. We may have flawed minds, incapable of full interpretation, but what we observe is solid and real. Beneath it all, the laws, the bedrock...
The bedrock is defined by the number 7. 7 chains, 7 brides, 7 seals, 777. My whole life has been defined by that number. It tortures me. Endless heptagonal shapes dancing behind my eyes. We're not allowed to live. We're not allowed to be people. That is the true luxury of modernity. Despite its coldness and its creaking wounds, to be able to be a full person. 7, 7, 7. 7 girls taken away by raiders in the cold as the wind demon howled and howled, so the Scarlet King had to have 7 brides.
Modernity is not always cold. It's less brutal than slavery.
But what is it for? Is that the only purpose? A mere absence of brutality? What's the point of having peace and kindness for its own sake? So you can smile for a few decades before falling dead into an empty grave? Self-affirmation for a finite self? I don't understand it. I never did.
So I'm also starting to wonder, like, is the Scarlet King supposed to be a representation of, like, the darkest parts of humanity? The idea that, because we are so comfortable in our modern lives, kind of a situation that we've... I don't know how I want to say it, but like those dark aspects of humanity of hunting, killing, doing all of those things, fighting, war, etc. That's just part of our base nature, and we are essentially suppressing it because of technology and how the modern world is. And so the Scarlet King also represents those darkest aspects of us. And as we keep getting lulled into a more sense of safety and security in modern life, he will get more power, and eventually those, scales will tip, kind of a situation. I'm wondering if that's also part of what's going on here.
I grew up trying. I wanted to be like them, like you. But the system just stared down at me with contempt. Maybe it's not coldness, Doctor. Coldness seems to be objective. It can't be that. Because there is no objectivity. There is just screaming and the madness and the need for purpose.
Did you really think that nothing is true?
There's truth, but it's never final. There's no ultimate reality, Doctor. No totality, no concrete way in which the world is run. There's just what we make of it. The clay things we bind together and crudely make in the clay.
All this introspection. Who's in there with him?
Who knows? His 7 brides, his loyal nomads, ancient servants, more creations of the gap between realities. I don't know anymore. It all breaks down in the end. All I see anymore is the fire. I don't see the worlds, or gods, or kings. I don't see anything but the flames. What else is there? This stuff? Matter and the physical? All banal, all fake. I only see the smile of my king, forged out of burning and frail matter. And it's the sight that hurts. It hurts so much, behind the eyes. It is burning and being consumed, and it's never, ever finished.
Then why not stop worshipping him?
I was a frail thing. I was born in the cold and the dark. I tried my hand at writing when I was very young. I tried my hand at many things. Bartering, starving, surviving in the marketplaces of Calcutta. Like so many of us struggling to live while you Westerners grew fatter on our forgotten wealth. I grew mad. There was no meaning, no purpose. In a country born to be ripped apart. I tried gods, but they were silent. I tried reason and atheism, but they were just as empty and unreal. Because they were always going to be. Because...
Don't say it.
You have to hear it.
I don't want...
No, listen. Robert, just listen. You know now what the Scarlet King is. He is a creation of swirling anomalies, of so many different times all over the world. He is the memory of a world that is lost. The pre-modern world, made manifest in a form of hatred for modernity. The new, the humanism and smiling coldness that marks our day-to-day existence. Forged from a perfect balance of irreconcilable anomalies and our breaking minds. He is an entity created by this overwhelming, unavoidable tension. Of the howl of the old world when faced with a cold, grey, purposeless new. He is the revenge of our fallen past. He is the idea of the ancient in a world which discards and fetishizes it.
He is the tension between the modern and the pre-modern made manifest.
Yes. He is the fault line between two irreconcilable worlds. And he can only, in the end, destroy them all. And that is what is right.
What do we do now?
Okay. So, yeah. He's essentially, that's what he said. He's... Again, it kind of feels like it goes deeper into kind of what I was saying, where it's a situation of like the Scarlet King represents the kind of base, almost animalistic instincts that we have that are still a part of us, but like we just put aside because of the civilization that we live in. But if civilization were to collapse, we would go back to a lot of those old ways. That's kind of what I really feel like it is.
You shoot me. Let them take my corpse. Go back to your life. It won't last long now. The King's coming is inevitable. You might try to do something to stop it, but it won't work. The Foundation has too much at stake. Too much resting on the preservation of their ethos. They will coat the world in concrete gray, and the King will rise from the ashes, and the children won't even have to lift a finger.
I don't believe you.
Believe what you like. Come, Doctor. I think it's time.
Just tell me one more thing. Was it you who took Jacob?
No. We had no idea who he was. Dr. Montauk terminates POI 3172. The crack disappears.
Document 12. The following is a record of O5 Council Vote number 4985.
Council Vote 4985. Vote to approve suggestions made by Dr. Robert Montauk on Foundation operating procedures for improved containment of SCP-1, proposed by O513 on the 30th of May, 2018. 4. O52, 6, 7, 10, and 13. Against. O51, 3, 8, 9, 11, and 12. Abstain. O54 and 5.
Denied.
Vote denied.
Statement by O51.
Dr. Montauk's investigations have been most illuminating.
Most
They have certainly
illuminating.
raised some serious concerns about how the Foundation has been operating in recent years, but we feel his suggestions go too far. The ethos of the Foundation is comprehension. Postmodern notions of the fallibility of objective universal truths are all very well in academic circles, but the Foundation has always been first and foremost concerned with practicalities, basing its analyses on the hard sciences and unquestionable truths. Changing our intentions and modus operandi is frankly an absurd proposition. Our duty is and always has been to die in the dark, to protect those in the light. If we begin to abandon or redefine the notion of what dark and light are, we risk a sharp descent into tyranny, incoherence, and the loss of our mission entirely. This must not happen. We cannot engage in cavalier redefinitions of what the Foundation's very essence is. We thank Dr. Montauk for his work, and we will be accordingly updating SCP-1's classification to safe as a result of it. Containing SCP-1 is no longer as difficult as it once was, despite its potential danger. If Montauk's information is correct, then it seems clear to us that the Foundation should simply take a more laissez-faire attitude toward...
So the idea is to not pay attention to him. If you don't pay attention to him, he won't gain enough power to do anything, essentially, is what it seems to be. Which, again, feels very 40k-ish, because, you know, the idea behind the Chaos Gods is the more worship they get and the more power and intent behind that worship, the stronger they become.
Towards SCP-1's containment. We look forward to a more productive containment relationship with our oldest anomaly going forward.
Supplementary voice log found. Playing now.
I watched, hidden as their bulldozers came. Prime land wasted on trees, they said. They ripped them up, sliced their roots, took them away to be made into tables, chairs, and other monotonies. Then, over weeks and months, they flattened it. They poured concrete into the rest. It was scraped and shaped, cut into neat little squares, arranged precisely and in an orderly fashion.
Okay, before we go on, I have a thought that I want to get out before we continue. So, it's interesting. So, the idea again is that seemingly, the more you pay attention to and give worship to the Scarlet King, potentially the more powerful he could become. So the idea that the SCP Foundation is having here is to do the opposite. Just don't pay attention to it, and you won't give it power, kind of a situation. But that also feels like that's kind of what the cycle is about. The idea that somewhere there's going to be people oppressed in the world, and their oppression will lead them to search for something greater than themselves, a purpose, whatever the case may be, in this monotonous modern world that we live in. And that's where the Scarlet King will exist. And so he will always find a way, kind of a situation. Life finds a way, the Scarlet King will find a way. So it's like, is that really the way to go? You know what I mean? To just like ignore it. And, I don't know.
Walls rose up, great walls of concrete. Windows, their measurements precisely regulated. A series of standardized bricks for other parts. Construction crews and workmen and all the rest working efficiently and precisely for a long time, filling in the details. The furnishings and precise abstract wallpapers and everything else that went into making a facility. Finally, it was finished. One single new tree had been planted in the center of the central courtyard, not through any sense of whimsy or delight, but to give those within a little sense of nature, of reality in the center of the gray, to keep them sane. Nothing more. A precisely mandated allowance for the improvement of human mental health, until they can find out a way to phase that out entirely. I watched, and I thought about all that we had done. I thought about the world they wanted. I thought about their spinelessness. I knew what good was, and what evil was, and I saw none of it in either of them. I thought about hollow men made of straw, plastered together with thick paste and sold in 1,000 identical ways in 1,000 identical shops. I thought about what we had lost, and I howled. At night, the day before the site's grand opening, I dug up the seeds of the tree and replaced them with a seed of my own devising. And over Site 231 will stand a thing of blood and bone and sinew. A tree that drips and leers and feeds. It will drip strange fire, and that fire will both burn and warm in equal measure, and they will look up at it and wish they had listened while they had the chance. I know this path is wrong, but at least it's a path. With thoughts and prayers. Robert Montauk, child of the Scarlet King.
And so he took his place. He killed the guy and then took his place. This article is written by Tufto. Link in description. Interesting. So, again, that it had me going in a lot of different directions of thinking. But it seems like, again, in the end, the Scarlet King is a being that may have always existed in some way, shape, or form, and his form essentially changes based on whatever the whatever the need is at the time for the masses, I guess. I don't know how I want to describe it. But that's also why throughout history, his past has been rewritten. Because again, he started off potentially as a deity in Sumeria, and so maybe it was a situation where enough people in Sumeria worshipped this being and created it, made it into reality, and then that civilization fell and was suppressed, and so then the Scarlet King, fell into obscurity for a time, and then another civilization rose up, and worship of another deity came to be. But that's just what the form of the Scarlet King took. Again, kind of the the thing from Ghostbusters, you know, Gozer the Gozerian. He takes whatever form is chosen, and then he becomes the Destroyer. That's kind of very much what the Scarlet King sounds to be like, you know. And so it's always going to be a situation where he like always exists, and yeah, I don't know. It's just this video and this article went a lot of different ways, and the Scarlet King, it seems to still be able to be interpreted in a lot of different ways. It almost seems again like it could be like just a force of nature, and whatever people's beliefs are, that's what he could form into. Again, from what the Mish or whatever that guy's name is, I can't remember his name off the top of my head already, was saying, he could also simply exist as an opposite to what the SCP Foundation is, you know, because the SCP Foundation believes so much in this need to like categorize and understand everything, that the Scarlet King is then an opposite of that and can never be categorized and fully understood, etc., etc. And in the end, you know, the SCP has essentially decided to change the Scarlet King's classification to safe, thinking the idea is that as long as they don't give him power, attention, essentially, that he won't have the ability to come into our reality. But again, there's always going to be people somewhere in the world who are oppressed and wanting to look for something greater, some kind of purpose, and that's where the Scarlet King will be. The Scarlet King is the person that whispers in their ears and gets them to believe in certain things and follow him, and then that belief will spread and he will take a new form and come up and rise to you know, change what's going on. It almost, again, could also be interpreted as a cycle of things where, you know, civilizations rise, they get to a certain level of monotony, people want to break up that monotony, they believe in some kind of other being that, you know, promotes anarchy and chaos, and then, you know, that civilization falls and things continue to go again. I also still think it could also be still somewhat interpreted as, you know, the Scarlet King could represent the darkest parts of humanity, the need to fight and war, and to be brutal and cruel, and, you know, all of those things, that they're essentially just parts of humanity, and it's just the darkest parts of us, and that's what he represents as well. So yeah, interesting article that goes along a lot of different ways. I'm curious to what a lot of you guys are going to say in the comments, to what you think it is, and what your interpretations of this are, because maybe it's a situation also where I'm just overthinking and overanalyzing things, but I'm curious what you guys have to say. So but yeah, that was SCP-001, the Scarlet King K-Class Scenario SCP Tufto's Proposal, by the Vulcan. Links will be down below in the description to the original video without my commentary and reaction. So if you'd please do me a favor, click on the link if you enjoyed this video, go over there and give it a like, and if you enjoy the Vulcan's content, please do me a favor, if you're not already subbed to him, you know, click that link down below and give the man a sub. If you'd like to join us when we do these reactions live, we'd love to have you guys come in here and join the discussions. That's one of the reasons why I like doing these videos, because I like, you know, bringing up discussions for, you know, to have with people. So we'd love to have you guys come in here and join in. There's a link down below in the description, as well as a join button underneath the video. Take a look at the YouTube membership tiers and benefits that I offer. If you decide you want to take support to the channel to the next level, you can, again, come in here and join us with our discussions. You can get early access to videos. You can get priority in any kind of requests you might have, your name added in the end of the video, sub Discord channel, etc., etc. So take a look at those and see if you decide you want to take your support to the next level. But thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, consider leaving a like and a sub, because it helps me and the channel grow. And I hope you're having yourselves a wonderful day whenever you're watching this. We'll talk to you guys on the next.